Hey friends, Doug here from 2 Plus Tough, and I have the great joy of having Monday off here in the States, as many of us do. And I thought it would be fun to just kind of sit, hang out, chat. I'm going to go over here to build some models here in a hot second, but I just wanted to start off with this. I finally got the parts I needed in to be able to live stream using the nice new camera. Basically, I just needed a way to power it through anything but the battery plug into it. You know, I had to get a little AC outlet thing. Anyway, so that's a lot of gibberish for nothing. I just thought we would kind of hang out today and build some stuff and play around. I have a whole bunch of Nurgle stuff I wanted to talk about because I've really been on a Nurgle kick again. I think if one could describe me as having like my army, like the one thing that speaks to me for some reason, I think it has to do with how much work I put into painting them, but we can chat about that later. But yeah, no, so I think we'll go ahead and doing this. Blights Creek says building models, trying to ruin your day off. I'm trying to get better. I'm trying real hard to get better at appreciating the joy of the build. And so yeah, let's go. I'll turn this light on. We'll go over to the downward cam here. And so I got a whole bunch of stuff. I'll go ahead and show off here, but let me get these lights adjusted so that I'm not actively being blinded as I'm trying to talk to y'all. Alright, so up here in front we see two feculent gnarl maws. I was just about to start building those. In addition, let's see, I'll put these off to the side here. Let me get my chat pulled up. There we go. Now I can see it. I got two Beasts of Nurgle I just built. Now these are complementing the one that I got from Jack for my birthday. So that was kind of a fun thing. And eventually I want to do... What do I want to do? I want to do like the battalion that's Horticulus Slimix and a whole bunch of Beasts of Nurgle. So this brings me up to 3 total. Love this kit, and I went ahead and put an order in for a set of Plague Toads from Forge World, like the Nurgle Timerkins Horde Plague Toad dudes. And honestly, it's more just they're on the same size base. I wanted some alternate sculpts to kind of mix them in. With the extra bits from these guys, I'm going to add tentacles to the Plague Toads to kind of make them fit in a little bit more. So I got that. We have a Lord of Plagues, who is pretty cool looking. I don't know how much I'll actually run him, but it's, you know, it's one of those things. Once you have enough Blight Kings, you're like, well, why not just grab this hero? Because then you have a whole nother army, right? Because you can just do the Blight Cyst, or Plague Cyst. That's what he is. And so, yeah, no, it seemed to make a good deal of sense to me. And, yeah, so let's see. Then, lastly, we have the Wormspat. Now, this is the Warhammer Underworld's Nurgle Warband that I've been looking around for a while for, and my local store had one just sitting on the shelf, and I was like, sold. And these guys, I gotta tell you, these are my favorite Blight Kings ever. Straight up, because their poses, they're so much more imposing than the other ones, like the actual standard kit, because all of those, there's like one with his knee up on a rock, but the rest of them are all just standing there. There's a couple of them like in a T-pose almost, not quite a T-pose, but just standing. And these guys, like that hunched forward kind of like aggressive stance where he's yelling, I love that. This guy here with a spear, which is just a weapon option that we haven't seen before. You know, I mean, obviously it probably doesn't translate into much besides a blighted weapon or whatever, but it doesn't matter. It's just he looks different. So I love that. And then, of course, Wormspat herself, looking gross, looking nasty. I'm in love. So, put those off to the side, and we will get to building. I didn't really have, you know, much of a theme for the day. Oh, I guess, actually, I will throw out there that I went ahead and built and painted 10 more Plague Bearers, Jack's Beasts of Nurgle, which you can see on social media stuff, and then, what was the last thing? Oh, 3 more Nurgling bases. Because, I don't know, we'll chat here in a little bit, but I actually played a game of the new edition of 40K, and I thought that was pretty stinking cool. I played it with the Sisters of Battle that I owned, and then immediately after the game, sold them. Because I was like, I like the game, I'm in, but I don't know, they didn't grip me, if that makes sense. I would much rather play with the Nurgle stuff that I've been investing time in, and if I want to later on, I can lean into some Death Guard stuff. So let's take a look at the chat here. Oh gosh, it popped up fast. First thing I see, Apathy Kitten, thank you so much. That's so kind of you. Was certainly not anticipating it here. We got JDV Chaos, just sitting down to do some hobby. Hello everyone, happy Labor Day to all people who said happy Labor Day to me. Sweet, let's see here. Those models are no joke. Yeah, I had no idea that they came on a 60 mil base, so to give you a sense. I mean, and they fill it out pretty well. Like, I was kind of planning to do like a diorama thing where, you know, the Beast of Nurgle is towards the front, and rules and lore-wise, he's supposed to have this big slime trail, but I was like, man, there's not a lot of real estate to make like a very noticeable slime trail, so to speak, so that's alright. Let's see. Nate says good morning. Oh, no, good morning. It is 3:20 for me, my friend. Good on you. Julia says, I'm just getting into AOS. I bought Deepkin Star Collecting. Is it terrible to add Anvil Guard forces to it? Really want the Charybdis or Hydra? No, not at all. Not at all. I don't know much about Deepkin as a faction, I'll be honest with you, but I mean, if there's just something you like, I'm the kind of person that's just going to tell you to do whatever you like. Now, typically, when I build identical models at the same time, I just clip them out together. And we're just going to, you know, that way when I'm at the end of it, we'll just have two Feculent Narmals. Now, for my first one, I did a bit of conversion work. I added some stuff to the sides of it. I don't really want to do that for these, because honestly, I don't do a lot of summoning. I don't bring on Feculent Narmals, to be honest with you. So these guys, I'm going to paint them up the same so they look perfectly in line with everything. But these, you know, these are the back burner guys. They don't need to be... Who are we trying to impress, you know? 7:50 a.m. in Australia. You can keep it. What are you doing up at 7:50 a.m.? My goodness. I'm what you might call a noon angel, you know, when I rise and wake. That's not true. No, I was up, what was I today? 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, something like that. But, yeah, so me and my buddy Ben got together and played my first game, and I think it was his second, I believe, of the new edition of 40K. I gotta say, I love it. It was, it basically addressed all the problems that I had with the previous edition, namely like army construction and what else? I didn't really care for the command point thing, but they've reconfigured it into something that's a little bit easier for me to wrap my head around. Yeah. Let's see. Apathy Kitten. Hey, Doug, I wanted to ask your honest opinion about Bone Reapers. Well, friend, you get to choose the topic because you made a kind donation. So, Apathy Kitten, tell me this. What do you want to know about Bone Reapers? Because that's kind of a vague question. Are you talking like playing them, getting started with them, the lore? Go ahead and give me some more information, and that's exactly what we will talk about. Because if there's one thing that I have in droves, it's opinions. Like everyone else on the internet. Because at a certain point, your thoughts are no longer just thoughts, they're content, baby. I'm just kidding. No, but I had a great time. Until Apathy Kitten clarifies, I will say that me and my buddy Ben had a great time. He walked me through... We walked through together all the various changes that were made, and no, I thought it was a great time. And while I did, I ended up winning that game with the sisters, and he took his salamanders, Space Marines. But I will not lie to you. I did not know that I was winning until like the last round, because there were a few clutch moments that I did not understand, like things were detrimental to Ben apparently that I did not understand. Like with the secondaries and all that kind of stuff, I was just playing the game, getting slaughtered, like, you know, Sisters of Battles do in every single Black Library book. But I didn't realize that, like, oh, I thought this whole time he was on this objective scoring. It's like, no, his secondary is something else. And I was like, oh. So the final score was something like 21 to 27 in my favor. So I don't know. It's crazy. And he was the one keeping count. So no funny business there. Joke's on him. I don't even know how to score points in 40k enough to even try to cheat. Okay. Apathy Kitten. Playstyle and your times playing against it. I love the lore on them and the style of the we're going to kill all, but we can wait. Yeah, so I also love that aspect, that it embodies Nagash's, like, slow burn. I'm in no rush. I have an army that can conquer you, but what am I trying to prove? It'll happen eventually. You all die from age anyway, so I'll just pick up, you know, wherever it's convenient. So I do like that core nugget, I guess you could say, of an idea for the army that reflects Nagash. Now, as far as playstyle goes, I'm going to be honest and say that it doesn't interest me. I don't know how I feel about all the armies kind of getting a secondary resource, right? Not command points, but like command points, which is what they have. Like, I don't know if I would like that anywhere else. And I'm sure that's kind of what makes them unique to an extent, because then you have other stuff like Urgold and whatever the heck the Lumineth Realm Lords, that Bitter Realm Stone that they're all carrying with them, that kind of stuff. You know, where it gives them other abilities, and that's fine. But, I mean, the Ossiarch Bone Reapers, it is just... they could have just called it not a command point, and it would have functioned the same, because it really does act the same. For me, I love... See, from a gameplay perspective... Well, I'll start by saying I can't recall ever actually playing against them. I'm trying to review in my brain. Have I actually played against... I don't think I have. And if I did, it was like a super small game that was probably not representative of much. I know Brent over on Ruling Ones is slowly building up a force of his own, so that could be cool to see on their channel. What else? As far as playstyle goes, honestly, like, I just don't like infantry horde armies. And I was super into the Bone Reapers when they first previewed it, because I was at the event. It was at Nova 2019 when they first showed off all the stuff with the Bone Reapers, and I was like, this is the only death faction that I think, like, really speaks to me. And then I went out into the main hall, and they had some of the models on display, and I saw that they were all still on 25 mils, and I was like, nah, I want a smaller footprint army than that. I want fewer dudes. I don't want anything that's a big horde unit, which I know people like. And honestly, is probably one of the best ways to play that faction, is kind of a infantry based whatever, and then some stuff to support it. I think, and if you play Ossiarch Bone Reapers, please challenge me in the chat if you disagree, because I want to hear an opinion. But when I look at the faction and I see what people are playing and drawn to, it feels like maybe it's not the best internal balance, meaning I just don't see a lot of anything but the infantry, a few select heroes, and the catapults. Like, I generally see just those things. Whereas they have, like, I don't really ever see the, honestly, the names of their units are escaping me. I apologize. But I'm thinking stuff like the Gothazar Harvester, who's like munching up dead bodies on the field. Like, I don't see a lot of him. I don't know. It's just interesting. And I wonder, my first thought is like, well, is the book, is it a matter of just people like the way the infantry looks? Which, if that's it, that's legit. Awesome. Good on sculptor guy who made that. But if it's a matter of like the other things in the faction just don't, I'm not going to say aren't as good, because that's not really what I'm into as far as like power game and stuff, but more, they don't do what you'd think they do, right? If that makes any sense. So yeah, I mean, that's kind of all the thoughts that I have on them. Let's see. If I had people to play against, my Gothis are Harvester. Yeah. Yeah, Ben comes in. Mortec Guard are too efficient compared to the rest. And that's kind of my thought, is like, it's the same reason that I'm not a fan of, like, Legions of Nagash has that thing where it's like you have all of these infantry options. And people looking at like, oh, skeletons are they're just the best. And you know what? Generally, they're not wrong. If someone was like, Doug, like all my models burned and I lost them all, and someone gifted me a Legions of Nagash army, okay? I would, first of all, say thank you. But secondly, I would only ever play zombies. I refuse to play skeletons, because it's just never been fun to play against them for me. And like I said, I don't know enough about the factions to know if that was if that was about the way that they were being played, or if skeletons, the big fat blob of skeletons that just come right back, actually is not that fun. I don't know. I'll let someone else correct me on that one, but it didn't seem like a great time when I was playing against somebody with it, so I don't know. But that's probably the best thoughts I can give you, like, without actually having played them. As far as things that interest me, though, like, I like, when it comes to Bone Reapers, the different hero options they have. You know, I think about comparing small factions with just a handful of heroes, and I think, like, Ossiarch Bone Reapers nailed it, because if I look at other small factions with just a handful of heroes, you have stuff like the Lumineth Realm Lords, where you literally have two choices in the book, and they're both very easily killed. You know, you have the Stone Mage and the girl on a rock getting blown around by the breeze. The whatever her name is. But, like, and I don't like that, right? Because I don't like having to play characters. That's kind of my thing. Unless it's like a special thing, I don't want to play a character. So that's kind of awkward for me. But then on the other side, you have stuff like Daughters of Cain or Fire Slayers, I think is a good example, where they're another faction that has just a couple of models, just a couple, in terms of leaders, specifically leaders. Just a handful, but Ossiarch Bone Reapers does so much better than those factions, because the heroes in Ossiarch Bone Reapers are way easier to get a hold of. Like, if you just need one more runesmith or whatever for Fire Slayers, there's only one kit that has it, or you can kit bash your own. But like, if that's the model you need, there's not a myriad of places to get it. Same thing with Daughters of Cain in that shrine. It's just like, you make some of the most basic parts of your army hard to physically get for players, and that's a problem. So that would kind of be my thought there. Reflex dog training. Aw, thank you so much. Thank you. Anytime Skaven is included in your vids, I feel enthusiasm. I can't find another content creator who gets them. Well, thank you so much. That's so kind of you. Given how many armies are overflowing with heroes, it's super weird to me that Lumineth have so few. Yeah. I need to think about that. Yeah, it is. It is a very weird thing. I agree. Because I think heroes are part of the best thing in the game. Like, in terms of, picking a singular model, investing a lot of time into painting them, and kind of, things that you would build a backstory around. Like, it tends to be heroes. Obviously, you can do that with units too, and you can make your own little, like, regiment of renown. Like, and all those things are awesome. But there's just something about having a small hero that's like, yeah, dude, that's me on the battlefield. See, so that's 5, so this is 14, 12. And let's see, I'm actually gonna have a little fan going. I'm actually gonna turn that off here. There we go. Flesh eaters have a small pool of heroes. Whatever, they got a trench full of heroes. I mean, I don't know how great any of them are, but they got it. So let's see, 3 and 9. I mean, they do have a handful of model kits, which is true. I was actually having that discussion with someone over on the Discord. So basically, we got into it was a minor debate. When I say debate, I mean we weren't really arguing. There's no stakes. Nobody cares. But we were having a discussion about what the best start collecting box is. And I put my foot and I said, I think for sure it's the Flesh Eater Coral one. You can buy 9 of that box and still build different things out of it, depending on what your army needs. And they said, well, I think that Beastclaw Raiders, I don't know why that always skips my mind. Beastclaw Raiders are the best buy. And we were just kind of chatting. They're like, well, you can build a whole army with only 2 boxes. And I was like, yeah, but in terms of like the sheer number of options that you get with the Flesh Eater one, it's crazy. Like, it's crazy. What a crazy box. I just love it. So, I don't know. So the Flesh Eater ones are really interesting, especially given their lore where it's like, even as small as all the heroes are, you can give them all these grandiose titles and how they fit into your little court. And, there's just so much play there. I'm like, oh, that's so cool. Again, one day I will have myself a Flesh Eater court army. It's going to happen. I'm going to fall for it. We all see it coming. But, it's like a train, hitting a car. It's just, you can't look away. Did you prime on the sprue? Nope. No, actually, most of my Nurgle army was just done with contrast, and so I just build it, prime it with contrast, and then paint into the cracks and crevices. I keep it as simple as possible. Because that's how I like it. It's what I can handle. I have described my painting style to people before as my style is the most efficient way to get the coolest look. Which doesn't mean it's the best painted model. It just means it's a well-painted model. But I got it done quick. Why is the sprue black? Oh, it's not black. That's my light being kind of weird. It is strange. The light really is making those things look so much darker. But no, it's just normal gray plastic. Very strange. I wasn't even looking at the screen to be able to see that. Okay. Yeah, so, yeah, that's about all the thoughts I can give on Ossiarch Bone Reapers. I like heroes. Actually, in terms of like the book that I think does small heroes the best, I gotta go with Blades of Corn. Now, their heroes are not super accessible because a lot of them are online only because they're just weird options that are super old and they just kind of keep repurposing them from either the demon side of 40k or for AOS, that kind of stuff. But in terms of like, they have the most heroes that I'm looking at, and I'm like, oh man, that guy sounds awesome. You know what I mean? In terms of like, if you were building the army, like I would lean towards more of their options. Whereas like Flesh Eater Court's like, yeah, you can easily build a whole bunch of them. They don't all have the same utility in terms of like, they all do very different things, and you're probably not likely to see them all on the same list. But like with Corn Hero, I was like, yeah, dude. Because if one buffs a unit, then the other just buffs it even further. Taking a break from painting my Pestilent Throng beast that you started. Awesome, dude. Yeah, I actually took a break from mine too. I have them in a box. I got about halfway through the Ungor, because again, it's just for a tournament list, and I was like, man, all my enthusiasm for painting these guys is gone, and I just do not want to anymore. To which Jack over Erling 1 suggested, like, well, why don't you just play a game with them unpainted, and if you like the way that plays, lean into it, and if not, then don't. And I was like, oh, that's a wise idea I hadn't considered, that I can just see if I like this before jumping in with both feet, as Doug is wont to do. How's this sitting there? Turns out if you put the parts in backwards, they don't fit so well. There's your hobby tip of the day. Okay. Man, these are like not easy to find all the spots for. There we go. Yeah, so for these, I'm not going to do anything kind of crazy with them. I'm just going to keep it pretty simple. As a Corn player, I can agree. Every list starts with, what 6 heroes are you taking? It's exactly right. Where you're just like, huh, everybody does a cool thing? Yes, please. Aha, there we go. Had a bit of a brain fart there. We figured it out. We came through on the other side. Good day, everybody. Hey, Coach. Hey, everybody, go subscribe to AOS Coach. He's the best channel in the world. That's not cynicism. That's me wanting to pimp a buddy's show or channel. I just got done with like a huge... It's funny that you hopped in the chat. I got done with a bender of AOS Coach stuff because if you like my channel when it comes to like learning the lore and stuff, Coach's channel is amazing for learning how to play the game. It was like, oh, I needed this. His chat they had on Maggotkin. It's a tiny bit dated just because the points have changed so much, but it is still like one of the best discussions ever about the faction. Yep, there we go. Ooh, it is windy out. I can hear my doors slamming around. It's mainly 2 to 3 Slaughter Priests, 1 through 2 Blood Secretors, maybe a Blood Stoker. Yeah, I was also thinking, I like the Aspiring Champion. Who else do I like? There's a few others that I'm like, ooh, these guys seem cool. I'm not saying they have like all the use in the whole world. I'm just saying, like, if you're just playing a casual game, these guys are totally worth taking. And I like that. I'm not sure how I feel, and I'd love to get your guys' opinion on this. How do you feel about like the general trend towards smaller factions? Like I feel like, let me check myself, make sure that's true. With the exception of like Nighthaunt and Stormcast, I feel like most of the releases have been fairly small in terms of like, you know, what units are available and all that kind of stuff. And obviously we were just talking about with the Lumineth, like what hero options they have. It's all very minimal. Carriage and Overlords, they were extremely cool kits, but there weren't like a ton. I feel like Nighthaunt has been the biggest faction release they've had. Am I wrong? Is there a bigger one? In terms of like all new models, because I know Gloomspite Gitz is a large army and they did release a lot of kits, but a lot of the ones they have in their wheelhouse are, I don't know. I feel like they're trying to figure out what faction sells before investing further. That's actually a super solid point. Like if like they're releasing small ones and if the reception is good, then they'll invest more. That's a great one. That's a great thought. Lumineth are undoubtedly going to get a big expansion in a few years. Let's see, 7, 8. Okay. So 6 is on top. Yeah, you know, one of the things I liked about Lumineth, and I think I mentioned it when I was doing their book review, was they left it very intentionally open for expansion. Like basically in the battle tome, all we get is one focus of their people, like the mountains. But the book, in no uncertain terms, makes it clear like there's like a ton of those different focuses, you know, for their faction. So that's an interesting idea. I don't think, with the exception of like Stormcast, where we have this huge list of chambers that we don't know what any of them do, I feel like no other army has been like, hey everybody, there's room for growth. You know, usually it's like, this is just what it is. And if the gods of Underworld, whatever team does that, happen to smile upon you, you get some new models. Sorry, Seraphon. But yeah, I don't know. I say sorry, Seraphon, because those are the only new sculpts we're getting, but I'm so excited to see what they do with Seraphon. And I will say, having built the Wormspat warband just today, those are some of my favorite models. They are probably the first time I felt like a push fit kit worked as intended. Usually I have a lot of problems with push fits because they don't quite line up or they don't seal. All of them worked great. So I was like, huh, so they can do it. Cries in Soulblight. It's a bit hot here. Yeah, it is here too. It's well, actually, so I'm in the greater Seattle area. It's not like super hot. It's just more if you're in a place that doesn't have a lot of airflow, it just gets really humid and very uncomfortable. Let's see. I'd agree they tend to be going wide with armies in AOS while 40k goes deep. I agree, yeah. That's an interesting one. Because I get the sense that they are probably very hesitant to add new armies to 40k. And I think at this point they're just like, we have so many factions, we just need to expand what we got, make some sales happen, recoup costs on some older sculpts that weren't selling, and just kind of generally do that, which is fine. I mean, that's a smart business move for sure. Here we go. And that one. Alright, they're coming together. The gnarl maws are becoming progressively more feculent. Part of me wants to, like, I don't know, fold up a $20 bill or something and just kind of like stick it in this little crack right here. Just, that was a funny sentence. Just kind of put it in one of these little hidden cubbies and just like, you know, in forever, however many years in the future when it falls and breaks and like a $20 bill rolls out, I could be like, oh my gosh. Let's see. Am I crazy about thinking about including a soul grinder into my corn army? I don't think so. Actually, so playing the game of 40K that I did got me super motivated to do demons because I was like, well, I didn't care for the Sisters of Battle, but I did enjoy the game, and I already have a bunch of demons. So, like, awesome. And so to that end, I will probably be building a soul grinder or two myself. So, yeah. You're not crazy at all. Now, when it comes to corn stuff specifically, I don't know what in corn lore would make that weird. I mean, I don't know how good of a choice he is. I don't know anything about the soul grinder. Never hear anybody talk about it. But you get a solid thumbs up from Doug, and if nothing else, if you make a stupid decision in getting one, I'll be joining you in that stupid decision. So, you know, I'm not sure if that helps. Let's see, 17. There we go. This model triggers my trypophobia hard. I do not know what that is. I'm not a sufferer from that phobia. I've seen that it really annoys people who... I don't like to joke about OCD because it is like a very debilitating thing for people who actually have it, but I've heard people say like it triggers my OCD because everything is very asymmetrical. Like everything about this tree is asymmetrical. The branches don't line up, none of that. And that's the way it's supposed to be, right? You got three, everything's in threes because it's kind of like the trifold, whatever design that Nurgle has going on. The nice thing is, once I get past this step, the rest of it is just decorations and crap. So these guys are actually almost done. So we got, what, 16? Fear of holes. Interesting. I don't know if I've ever heard of that before. I'm not gonna lie. For me, it's the holes on the fungoid cave shaman's pet squig. Let's see. 15. There we go. Right in front of my face. But that's very interesting. Are Centaurs not a good unit? Seems like they would be fun to run around the table. Pergins, yeah, when I had my Beast of Chaos book, that was actually a unit that stood out to me. The only reason I didn't try them was because when Beast of Chaos dropped, like everything in that faction was sold out online for forever. It took quite a while for them to restock everything. Like it took me, I think, like 3 months to get a Chimera, and I actually ended up getting it from eBay just because they just couldn't get anything in stock. Anyway, my point being, that unit stood out to me as like, oh, these guys are like hyper fast and aggressive. But the only thing is about them is that it's in an army where everything is hyper fast and aggressive. So for example, like in my mind, I was like, oh man, Centaurs, they can like race up there, supersonic speed, get a turn 1 charge. But then as I was like actually playing with the things that I had waiting on Centaurs to come back in stock, I realized that Gore and Bestigore did the exact same thing. Like you have so many movement buffs and bonuses that I had never had a problem getting a turn 1 charge off with that army. And so that way, like, you know, when they came back in stock, I just wasn't motivated. Although I should have been, because they were really cool models. I really do like the Centaur models. But like if you're asking, do they have any purpose in the army? I would say absolutely. You know, if you use them to rush forward and die so hard that the enemy doesn't know what to do with itself while the rest of your force is like getting on objectives and stuff, that's a great way to use them. Yeah, exactly, Ben Connor, you nailed it. Yeah, you can turn 1 charge with pretty much everything. I mean, it's not exactly a feat of ingenuity. But, you know, they are one more option that can do that. And I believe they are 2 wounds, right? Because they are the horses they want to see in the world or something like that. I have a bunch of Beasts of Chaos from Warhammer Fantasy days. Looking to play them in AOS. Yeah, so I can talk about that a little bit because I have had experience with that army. Beasts of Chaos, you basically got one plan. And that's to die. But you need to die in a controlled manner where you are constantly on the objectives and your opponent can't take them from you. So like turn 1, I would build the Tzeentch battalion. Is our music still on? It kind of went quiet here. So I would build the Tzeentch battalion, and I would actually get it down to being a 1 or 2 drop list. And then, on top of that, basically what I would do is just launch the entire army into my opponent's face turn 1. And everything else that I have goes and sits on objectives. And so then the question is, can you kill the Bestigor fast enough to, or Bestigor Gore, whatever I had, fast enough. Oh man, I hate this song. Of course I put it on a song I don't like. Can you kill them fast enough to where you can then go kill the units sitting on an objective, which they're still scoring points for, and then have enough time to ultimately outscore me on victory points? And for some armies, the answer is absolutely yes. Like, you're asking a question, can you chew through this? And if the answer is yes, then you lose, but like in a fun way. I don't know how else to say it. If they can't or they struggle to, then that's when it turns into, I think, like a real game. And that all of that is completely matchup dependent. But there is a lot of game there. And the idea of just, you know, you have to play to the battle plan. Whatever the scenario dictates is how you get victory points. You need to be hyper-focused on that. But they are a good army. I mean, I think they're great. I think the reason we don't see them a lot is because it generally is a lot to buy into. Like, they're a horde army through and through. But any horde army, unless they have like diehard fans of that army's character, like Skaven or Gloomspite Gitz, that kind of stuff, where people love those armies just because they're awesome, and they do, you know. Whereas I feel like I don't see as many people like that for Beasts of Chaos, but they do have some, for sure. There's actually a local guy, I never got his name, I've only ever seen him at 2 events, but he basically kit bashed and converted this incredible Beasts of Chaos army. And every single model looks unique, and it's just a sight to behold. And it's funny because we played super differently. So like I focused on objectives and being aggressive, whereas he really wanted to lean into the summoning and kind of hold back and then rush forward like turn 2 or 3 and kind of sweep the enemy away in a sense, I guess. But I only have the 2 events that I went to where he was there to use as a reference, and I can tell you that was not a winning strategy. Turns out, if you hold back, they're not the most killy, and so it just ends up with you dying a lot. I feel like a lot of potential fans of Beasts of Chaos would be more drawn to orcs. Yeah, I could see that. I mean, I could see it. I do think the Beasts of Chaos with their kind of primal, like, shaman aesthetic, like, I think that's a very specific aesthetic that I know a lot of people love. But then when it comes to, like, oh, here's this, $40 box of Ungor. How many do I need? All of them. Oh, okay, let me put this box down and get Ironjaw Start Collecting box. Exactly like you were saying, I agree. a lot of those folks would probably, if they like that play style, there's other ways to find it that aren't so model intensive, you know, purchase intensive. I don't know how else to word that. Hey Duff, how many models do you think we'll get for Mortal Slanesh if we get any after the Lord of Pain? Ooh, that's a tough one. I don't know. Because I'll be honest, I don't really know what their, like, vision for the army, so to speak, is. Like, what do they want it to be? You know? I'm just not sure. Let's see. But, I mean, things that I would love to see. I mean, I would love to see new, love to see new cavalry for sure. I'm not the biggest fan of whatever they're called now. I can't even think of the name. Not Seekers. Hellstriders. Hellstriders, that's what they are. So I'm not the biggest fan of those sculpts, for sure. I'd love to see... They're probably not going to get... Well, I wonder how many heroes they would get. I don't know. I got to think on that, because they just... Part of me says, like, I don't know if they'll really get much at all, because they just dropped all the Slaves to Darkness stuff, and that works for Slanesh, and I think that could be some really cool conversion things. But yeah, I don't know. Let's see. I definitely want one to look different just by having nothing on it, so we're going to put him off to the side. Because I got bells and whistles and junk all over the other one, so we can have one look kind of... Oh, undecorated like a sad Christmas tree. And we'll just clip off a whole heckin' ton of bells. Let's see. I'm not good at painting, so I'm working on being okay with good enough for tabletop. Honestly, dude, that's the way it should be. Who are you comparing to? Don't worry about it. Okay, wait, 23, yeah, 24. I say just do whatever. If you're happy with whatever you paint, that's all you have to do. That's exactly right. One of the things I always liked... oh, what's his name? I think it's Chris Bellew from... He used to work for Mini Wargaming as kind of their painting guy. And then he started doing his own things. But one of the things I love that he would say during his like tutorial videos is just, hey, if you like the way this looks, leave it here. If you want to add one more thing, and then he would go obviously into the next step of the tutorial. And for some reason, it's such a small thing, but I appreciated that like a crazy talented painter took the time to say like, hey, this is a totally okay stopping point. And if you're happy, that's all that matters. And you just stop. Like, and I like that. I mean, you know, his stopping point, like, it looked great. I think it would kind of be similar to like GW's parade standard type thing. Like, but man, that's so refreshing when every time you pick up a box of models, it's got like 50 paints listed on the back, and it just seems very overwhelming to have someone be like, just put it down, it's fine. It looks good. You did your best. It's painted. I don't know why that one always stuck out to me. But yeah, no, definitely don't worry about it. And honestly, dude, if you're doing Beasts of Chaos, contrast paints are your best flippin' friend. What I would do if you want just a generic, quick, smash it done Beast of Chaos army, you just cover them all in Gilliman flesh, or I like Fireslayer flesh. It's a little bit more tanned. Fireslayer flesh, and then you go back over the fur bits and just pick out whatever color you want out of contrast paints with fur. You can paint over the flesh with no problems if you're doing another earthy tone, like, fur would be kind of a brown, that kind of stuff, generally speaking, and you'll be just fine. And man, it looks good. Which is kind of, I think, part of the conundrum of Beasts of Chaos, where it's like, this army's awesome, there are some great looking models. Also, unrelated, they're the easiest things in the world to paint. The only problem is you need like a bajillion of them. Let's see, I'm just going to put all these on, let them dry naturally with the way that they hang. Boom. Second feculent, Gnarlmaw, done did. Thank you for joining me on that one. Question, have you tried out the Soulbound character sheet on Roll20? I don't know. I know very little of that sentence. I know Soulbound. I don't know what a character sheet or Roll20 is. I mean, is that like a channel, or is it like you randomly determine everything with a D20? I'm curious. I don't actually know. Paul, let's see. Do you know why some people are so crazy about default colors? I posted my blue corn dragon and got so many complaints that corn is red. Oh. I mean, if you're asking, do I know why some people think that? Because some people are wrong. I don't have an explanation for you. Games Workshop themselves in past White Dwarfs have had all different kinds of color schemes for corn stuff. Absolutely. I mean, heck, my demons that I have for Nurgle, which are traditionally, of course, green, that pale white sickly stuff, I definitely based it upon what I saw in a White Dwarf for A Tale of Four Warlords. Generally speaking, when I talk to people about color schemes, I say, hey, listen, how much did you pay for that? Cool. That means you get to do whatever the heck you want with it. Like, straight up. Like, letting anyone else have input, on what color choices you make is... They didn't pay for it. Okay. But no. I've never been... Probably because traditionally blue is associated with Tzeentch. See, that's the thing, and I understand that, right? Like, on a mental level. But even at that point, it's like, man, but Tzeentch is like 10,000 colors that instantly blow your mind and turn your brain into mush as you're trapped in a prism of pure light. All this like ridiculous over-the-top crap. Where it's an army where it could reasonably look, you could paint it any color, and for Tzeentch it makes complete sense. Tell you what, I just wanted the Slimix one. Let me see if I can find some directions for how to do this. Ice blue corn army. Honestly, if I was gonna do a corn army, I would do a blue one. I would probably do, what would I do? I'd probably do a black like torso and have it fade into an ice blue, like as it gets towards the hands and the head, as it goes out from the core. But yeah, absolutely. Let's see. Instructions for Hortic. Hey, building manual. Okay, let's see. Nice. Found it. Alright, give me just a second here to pull this up into a place where I can see it and still see the chat. So GW Official even has a blue color scheme. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I believe... I don't think it was in a Tale of Four Warlords thing, but they've definitely showcased, at least in the magazine, blue corn schemes. I mean, I think the heart of your question isn't, is a blue color scheme okay or cool? I think you're really asking, like, why do people get so locked in to what something should be? And to that, I got no answer for you. That's just people being people. But I say do whatever you want. And you can send them to me if you have a problem. Any problems with that? Let's see. Okay, so we got that. We got 9. Where are you at? 9. Okay. This guy, I like him, but there's so many small pieces that I am very grateful that I was able to find some instructions online. Okay, so there's step 1. Then we got 10. For me, I like to, for a short time I worked in cell phone repair. And so, basically, at that job, we had these mats, and I'm sure if you work with any kind of small circuitry or technology, you do the same thing, where it's kind of a grid, and they're squares that are about this big, and I would basically take apart phones and use them as steps, and that way when you went to go reassemble them, you would just do the same thing in reverse order, and it made it very easy to organize, and that's the kind of the same way that I've been approaching model building. Let's see, so we need 11, which is here. And I'm so excited to paint this stupid little slug. And 12, which is this guy. Maybe I was just not in a very open group. If you don't mind me asking, like, was it like a Facebook group? Because I know you said you shared it, which... No, that doesn't seem right. What's 12? Aha, this is 12, the slug body. Okay. You ever get those sprue bits where, like, they're so close to one another and the numbers are so close that you get the wrong one clipped out? That's exactly what I just did. So that's alright, I'll put him to the side. 14 and 13. 14. Started working on a white scheme recently after 6 years. Maybe I'm brave enough to attempt it. Nice. Congrats, dude. Remember, give yourself, whenever you're trying something new, always give yourself like a little bit of the, kind of like the benefit of the doubt in terms of, like, you're allowed to fail. You're allowed to make mistakes. And it'll make you better for it. I was really nervous when I started doing white. I've never done a fully, like, a white armored faction, like, I don't know, White Scars or Knights Excelsius or something like that, where, like, that's the main color. But I have done them where it is one of the 3 kind of primary colors of the faction, like my Celestial Vindicators were that way. I was super nervous about it, and then once I kind of, like, failed a few times and got kind of my rhythm down, my little strategy for painting white, I was like, oh yeah, this is not that bad, and it's just one more tool in the arsenal all of a sudden. Let's see. On the other hand, around the kind of negativity and night. Let's see. Yeah, I think it's main corn Facebook group. Man, I'm always reluctant to tell people where to get their information, but I will say it is unwise to let the opinions of any Facebook group determine your happiness. Because, we have people here listen that do a great job of managing Facebook groups, but I've been a part of many that were just not great, not encouraging, and I was like, I'm done. And so I left them. That's alright. Universes are so vast that it's improbable to say that something can't exist within them. There's a reason why GW say there are 1,000 marine chapters and have only named 100. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, and part of it too is like, I mean, this is kind of the closest to like a stoner-rific thought that I've had. But like, if you think about like what is light, like what is color, it is just different spectrums of light waves hitting us in the face, and our eyes just happen to be able to see it. My point being that like demons are just made of like pure energy and malice. Why would one color only reflect back into our eyes? Like, no way. It could do anything. They could be anything. Like, they have no substance. Why would they have a color but no substance? I don't know. I'm just saying, do whatever you want. That's my long-winded lore justification for saying, just do whatever you want. Let's see, how does this fit? Kinda looks like that. Colorblind and all that. Oh, yeah. I mean, there's quite a few colorblind folks in the hobby who have reached out and asked questions, and I was just like, I mean, what can you see? Okay, that's the color you can see? Well, that's what we're working with, and you figure it out. Okay. To Doug's point, sharing why you chose blue with a narrative is helpful. That's true. That's true. Thanks for adding that. That's a really great point. That if you have a reason, like let's say I'm gonna pick on 40K because I was actually just reading the Chaos Demons Codex. But like if you were like, yeah, so this is happening on X and so world, you know, there's let's see, 11. Where's that go? Right in there. You know, there's like maybe a star that's dying. There's a white dwarf star or something like that, where it's like something that emits different kinds of light, and all of a sudden it just fits. To quote Todd Howard of Bethesda fame, it just works. But not really, because usually when he says that, things tend to not work. Let's see. Then we got this part. How does that go? Aha! Figured it out. Always, as my personal rule, dry fit a model before you start gluing anything. So I figured it out, how it was supposed to roll, and then you glue it down. And then you get overconfident, say that you got it, and the part snaps off like it just did there, and you start over. That's just the joy of modeling that we get to experience every day. Okay, and then we gotta put his butt on. Feels almost gatekeepy. It does, and I will be honest with you, it does. I don't got anything else for it. Telling someone how they should paint their models is a very, or saying that they didn't do it correctly, I think is probably what it is. You know, because if someone asks you like, hey, how come you didn't go with red? You know, like that's a question. It's not like an accusation of failure or anything like that. It's just saying why, you know, invite me into your thought process, it's a fantastic way to ask that question. But to say like he should be red, no, he should be whatever I want him to be. Okay, so I got those two parts, 14 and 13. Now we're on to 19. That's upside down. There's a very small list of reasons why I won't play against an army. Color scheme is not one of them. Actually, I'm kind of curious. Hey, Ben, why would you look across the table and say, I'm not playing against that? I'm not calling you out. I'm genuinely curious, like, as to, you know, what are things that, like, people are just completely disengaged from? You know what I mean? Like, this is just so far from what I want to do with my life and my time here on this earth that I'm like, mm-mm. I'd say for me, the only thing that I would probably be like, I don't really want to play against that list, is if it's something where it's completely non-interactive, and, this is an important and, takes a lot of time. Like, Jack's shootcast list, right? It's completely non-interactive. Like, he just plops down and annihilates you. Like, that's just how it goes. That's what it's designed to do, and it's really good at it. But, for as non-interactive as it is, it's also very quick. Like, you either live or you don't. And there's just something nice, and I'm gonna use the word polite about beating somebody very quickly instead of drawing it out for an hour. Like, I played a game against it was actually a Nurgle player when I was doing my Beast of Chaos, and the game just lasted forever because it was that kind of list where it had a hard focus. And this is like a tournament list, so I knew what I was getting into. So I mean, but had a really hard focus on, how do I word this? Like, grinding out the enemy. So it's basically like you do the thing where you have large blocks of plague bearers, but they're backed by Lord of Blights, and so you can make them -4 to be hit in shooting and -2 in combat, if I'm correct. So just nuts. And that in a stark contrast is a form of non-interactivity that is very unfun, like, to play against. I mean, and no, like I said, it was a tournament list. It was 100%. It did what it was designed to do, but it was not my favorite game. Although it was playing against one of my favorite people, so, you know, you take the good with the bad. It was her a tournament list. They were going to LVO, so it's like, you know, yeah, I want to help you. Yeah, absolutely, I'll help you prep. We'll get a practice game in. But, you know, it did what it was designed to do. That's so weird. I just feel like it shouldn't. The directions are saying that it's supposed to, like, stand on this little rock, but I don't see any, like, grips for it to plug into. Oh, I see what I did. Okay. I skipped a step. Okay. I'm not crazy. I'm just blind. Hey, Hugh. How you doing, buddy? Let's see. 200 skeletons. Yeah. As far as things that I wouldn't play against, honestly, yeah, the Nagash one is kind of tough for me. But isn't it so funny, right? Like, I will complain until my last breath that playing against Legions of Nagash, where it's just Nagash and huge bricks of skeletons, I will complain that is, like, the least fun experience ever. However, if you replace those skeletons with zombies, I am in like Flynn, okay? Like, straight up. Because it's fun as heck to, like, delete stuff, and your opponent, the Nagash player, is, like, constantly pulling zombies off the table, and you feel like you're doing stuff, and then they come right back, and you're like, oh, zombie horde, you know? It's kind of fun. Whereas skeletons just stand there menacingly. And you're just like, well, I can't kill it, so why even throw attacks at it? 300 zombies and a necromancer. Yeah, I remember one time I was doing a live stream, and I almost never talk about lists on this channel. Y'all know that. Just because I don't know enough. It has nothing to do with anything negative towards competitive play or match play. I just generally, don't. I can't look at a list and be like intuitively know what it's trying to do, kind of a thing. But someone in the chat we were chatting about a competitive list, and they were like, "Well, how come this doesn't just win every game, like ever?" We were trying to explain to them. It's like, well, this is like 300 plague monks, and nobody wants to be your friend. Like this army list costs something, and it costs you everyone you love in your life. That's why nobody plays it. That's why it's not winning tournaments. Okay, almost had it there. I'm trying to do my dry fit thing. At the same time, I gotta make sure the feet are lined up before I glue this bottom platform on. Because they look right. There we go. Perfect. All right. And cue the $30 Bellacore. So, yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. Like, there are, who was it? I think it was Vince and Tom over on Warhammer Weekly. They were chatting about how, like, Daughters of Cain is still, like, one of the best armies in the game, but you don't see it as much as you used to because just like people got really tired of it. Like it stopped being fun. Like, well, for as competitive as people want to be, at the end of the day, like we're all still men and women who are trying to like have fun games, and if it's not exciting, we stop playing. So it's just, I think when I learned that, or I heard that, it really clicked in my mind of just like, it's very easy to look at, matched play gamers and narrative gamers as like us versus them. You certainly see there's plenty of people online who, you have competitive players who kind of poo-poo narrative folks, and vice versa. There are some narrative folks that are like, competitive stuff is stupid, and, but the truth is, like, honestly, if it's not fun, like we're all here to have fun. If it ain't, we just stop. That doesn't go away. Let's see. Just because you like winning. Plus, honestly, the guys who, I should say guys and gals, the people who win events like with crazy list builds and that kind of stuff, the ones who like are true champions, they love the challenge. And so if they play an army and they just sweep everybody and they're like, this is not a challenge, it's not what they want. It's like the Twilight Zone episode that was on like way back in the past, where the guy, like, his hell was, or I guess his heaven, so to speak, was that he would play the slot machines but always win, but then he went crazy. Because if every time you pulled a lever it was a win, it stopped mattering. Stopped mattering to him and stopped being important, and if all you ever do is win. What's Doc? Yeah, Daughters of Cain, sorry. Yes, I got my fat snail boy. I love him. Honestly, I might buy a second kit just to do literally anything else with him, because I love this as a mount so stinking much. He's so cool. Oh, what a cutie. Okay, so Liam on Coach's show is a perfect example of how of how to be a competitive player. I'm not sure I know that, Liam. So, Coach, if you're free, who's Liam? We'll do a show and tell amongst YouTubers. The scary door. Yes! Is it Die Monger? Yes, that's the best. You enter into a place. It's a little uncomfortable. Not too bad. Air conditioner's working. It's called the scary door. Liam is my co-host. Oh, yes. Kind of a... Yes. Okay, there we go. Yes, for Sigmar Down Under. That's what I remember. That name. Okay. Yep, I know who we're talking about now. Hate the guy. I'm just kidding. No, yeah, that's awesome. Let's see. So we got 31 and 32. And 32. Here we go. I love that this slug's name is just Mulch. Like, we have all these grand titles in Nurgle, and then there's just a dude named Mulch. 27, 28. Okay. There's 28. Aha, there it is. Okay. I feel like when I build... Actually, I mean, today I've been building models all day. Not all day. A good portion of the day. And it has bothered me less than it has in a long time. And I think part of that's because these are all fairly new kits, so the instructions are pretty clear. The ones that I'm dreading, though, is I have 2 units of plague drones. Or actually, I have 3 units of plague drones to build. And I hate plague drones, turns out. Let's see. So just capturing that single part of the video when you said you hate him. Yes. Yeah, please. I don't know. I'm just going to be in Australia on a vacation at some point, and then Liam's just going to walk up to me and be like, "Hey, Doug," and just punch me in the face. Be like, well, that was fair. That's always something that you should try this now that the holidays are on the horizon with Thanksgiving and stuff like that. Like every time, and you're gonna notice it now because I'm saying this, but every time you see family, they're always like, "Oh, do you remember that one person?" No, that's just like a small anecdote, like how they bumped into someone that you knew in high school or something. It's something stupid like that. Just a tiny tale that involves somebody else. And if you just go, "Oh yeah, I remember that," and you just kind of pause and go, "I hate that guy." It's a great way to derail a conversation, especially if you don't really have any interest in that person at all. Oh yeah, never liked him. Smelled of cabbage. A lot of people seem to not like building plague drones. It's just part of it is. And I'm looking at this guy, right? One, I don't like the way that they sit on their bases. I think that the Puscoil Blight Lords nailed it, where instead of using a flight stand, they're all like dragging something or they're touching a rock or something like that, whereas these are the clear flyer bases. And also, my biggest gripe about this kit is that the Plague Bearers themselves don't actually sit on the drones. Like, there's this weird gap where it kind of looks like, I don't know, like from this angle they look like they're sitting, but once you actually have the model in your hands, they actually like don't sit flat on the actual surface. So it's like Crown Royal gets it. Small hands, smells of cabbage. Let's see. Honestly, I have a video coming out where I made a stupid movie reference, and instead of going back and editing it, I just put in the chat, this is just how I talk. I talk in movie references all the time. It's it. It's all I got. And this. Okay, so this is basically saying, Hey Doug, wait until you're actually ready to put it on the base before you glue it. Which I'm cool with. Just looking to see where it lines up at. Okay, so that looks like it goes da. Oh, I see now. Alright. Do you think they will get a release of Maggotkin Army Box for this Christmas? Man, I hope so. I would jump into that. I'm not gonna lie to you. I got so much stuff for him, and I'm just like, I don't know why. This is actually I do know why. This has just been my favorite army to build lately. Here, I gotta zoom in on the instruction manual here for a hot sec. Did they do Maggotkin in the last few Christmas boxes? I don't remember them doing it last year specifically. This is not the best picture for instructions. Okay. Give me 1 second here. I know I go a little quiet sometimes, and I apologize. Okay, so that goes there. Where's the other one go? Okay, I figured it out. I don't remember them doing one last year. I feel like... So it's hard because it kind of fogs my memory up, is that I don't remember a holiday bundle for Maggotkin, but when they released Maggotkin, it was during the holidays. Because they had Duncan and Peachy do a super funny little like 12 Days of Nurgle dance thing. Which was super fun. Man, I miss Duncan. That's all. That's all I had to say about that. Okay, now what? Stormcast have had one every year. Oh yeah, and they're going to, just like Space Marines. You know, when it's your flagship, you gots to, I guess. Since it's not an if, what do y'all think will be the Stormcast box this year? Ooh. Man, I'd love to see like a Vanguard Chamber one, I'll be honest. I think that would make me happy. A Vanguard Chamber box. I know it's already been a thing. I'm pretty sure it has. And they have a Start Collecting box. But because it is a Start Collecting box, just having a great on-ramp into like, hey, now you can have a whole thing built around that theme, I think would be really neat. So that would be mine. I mean, I don't know if it's a real prediction so much as like a that's what I would do. What else? I don't know. Honestly, I would love it if they didn't do a Stormcast specific box, but they did like 2 different city boxes that had Stormcast. Because I mean, Cities of Sigmar can take them. So I think that would be really, really cool. 3 Star Drakes. Vanguard Chamber hasn't happened yet. Oh, okay. Well, yeah, I'm sorry. When I said that already had a box, I meant the basic Start Collecting box. They do have one for that. We got... Okay, and this is all the little... See, this is the step where it always gets me, where it's just like the 10,000 little tidbits that you could put on but don't have to, but you're like, but it looks so good with them on. But I wanna... Okay, let's see. That 25 and 26. Okay. It's kind of like the last step in building the Beasts of Nurgle is... they could have just gotten rid of the pictures and just put and glue on the rest of the bits, and that's basically what it is. It's just a whole lot of like, do whatever you want. I'm sure this head goes somewhere. Let's see, 26. seeing it. So I'm going to say it's probably not super important. Okay. Strange. Let's see. Anyways, gotta go. Oh, see you later, dude. Thanks for popping in. Hollow Heart box. Yeah, honestly, if they just, if you guys remember, so when they unleashed Firestorm, the campaign system, which had the same cities as the Cities of Sigmar, Battle Tome now, they did drop like a whole bunch of really cool boxes, flavored around each city. And it's like, man, just do that again. It's like you did it when they didn't have an army. Why? I don't know. There's a bunch of that stuff where so many of my criticisms of Games Workshop don't come from the products they sell, but more the timing. For example, like I think the Rumgate Wars campaign set was absolutely incredible. Like I love those books. The campaign was so much fun. Do I think that they should have been launched right at the beginning of the game when people were still kind of taking it in? Like, no, we didn't know enough to be able to appreciate it as consumers. Like, you didn't show us the value of the product before we wanted to engage with it. And so that's kind of hard. But yeah, for the most part, I've been loving all the stuff they put out. It's just a matter of when they put it out. How would you beat Hollow Heart? Just got completely annihilated. I don't really know what Hollow Heart does, if I'm honest with you. Actually, if these are optional bits, I kind of want to save them for somebody else. Because these guys are flippin' cool. Does he go right in there? He does. Okay, so he's one that he needs to fill a specific spot. Speaking of Cav, what would be everybody's favorite cavalry army be? I mean, I already got mine, my friend. I got a whole bunch of Pusco Blight Lords. And they are awesome. So I got mine. But what is everybody else? That's a great question. What's everybody else's dream cavalry army? Oh, yeah, the Ossiarch. Good one. Is it Joan 500? Yes. Oh, I see where it goes now. Okay, I do need that to fill a spot. See, it's weird. There's like little groove things where you could put a piece, but it's not essential. But it's like, but if I don't, then there's just kind of this weird gap. And apparently, oh, here it is, 26, right in front of my face. For some reason I thought this was like Horticulus's belt, but it's not. It is definitely an actual piece. Does Stegadar army count as a cavalry army? Oh, of course it does. Yeah, heavy. It's the heaviest of heavy cav, I'd imagine. Okay, there we go. Love it. Love when all these guys just kind of come together. And this unlucky little dude. Yep, that's right. Like I said, always dry fit and make sure it lines up. Nice. I like him. And the last little step here is just Horticulus, which should not take too long. Let's see. Chaos Knights, the new models. Oh, yeah, the new ones are fantastic. Although, I will say the new Knights, like, they just... I love the fact that all the new Chaos Warrior stuff, whether it's the Knights or the dudes on foot, I love how well they just fit into the old stuff. Like, I think... So I was looking at... Some guy took some pictures online. I think it was just on, like, Reddit or something. But, he took pictures of all the old Slaves to Darkness stuff, all the new stuff separately, but then he did a picture of them combined. And basically what his point was, and he totally convinced me, was like, I just think they look better when they're combined, because having the mix of poses of, you know, motion and aggression of like all the new stuff is like running forward or whatever, but combined with some of the older sculpts as far as like, you know, trudging inexorably on and that kind of stuff. Like, those are great. And it's like the mix of them makes them look better than just one or the other. Was his point. And I was like, huh. I think he's got it. Had a Dark Elf cavalry army. Never won. Too squishy. I can see that. Cinderfall Gaming just left the chat to go be a dad and other cool things. But he did Scourge Privateers, I believe is what it was. I don't know if he used a lot of cavalry. Because I know he just liked having like loads of dudes, which is kind of their strength, to be honest, if you're going to play just them. I raised this weekend. So basically, if you don't know how I do stuff for the channel, I always write the notes and the script for episodes that go out the next week. So like this weekend, I just wrote next week's episodes, or the following week's episodes. So I'm always a week ahead, just in case anything goes wrong. I have plenty of time to, like, there's still content coming out. It's all scheduled. But the reason I bring all that up is because I just recently did the Start Collecting Box review for Anvil Guard. I was like, this is an incredible set of models, or value for models and that kind of stuff. And it's just like, man. But if you wanted to have a whole army of Dark Elf stuff, like the Scourge Privateer stuff, that's a lot, because they're like a big old horde unit, and they get incentives for being in at least groups of 15, and I don't know, it's nuts. Vampire Cavalry Army is fun. Flesh Eater Courts with all the dudes holding baby horse. Oh, that's awesome. I mean, what, technically, in their minds, are they Crypt Flayers, the ones that fly? Those are the cavalry. So, I guess, technically, that might be the coolest cavalry army ever. That's a weird decision. It kind of had me do this at a weird... So his arm is supposed to be resting upon his knee, but the order they had you build him in doesn't make any sense for that. They had you put the arm on before the knee, which then you're like, okay, but then he's not lining up to anything. Here we go. Let's see. Will OBR get some love soon? Let's see. Tomb King Chariots Army. Oh, I see you responding to Will. Sorry, I was like reading it as a question. I was like, I don't know. Okay, and then we just got to put Horticulus onto his little buddy. See where that ankle lines up. See that? Give me just 1 second here. I promise I'm almost done with this guy. He's just one of those models you gotta get right. Oh, he goes all the way up there. Wow, okay. He sits up high on there. Yeah, for some reason I thought he was like closer to the face, but he is not. He is like way up there. Ah, this guy is so cool. Ah, she's a beaut. Horticulture slime, bro. Exactly. Let's see. Doug, do you like Nurgle Demons? I thought you were all about Rotbringers. Well, I am. I have a ton of Rotbringer stuff. I actually have 10 more Blight Kings that I picked up recently, and then I have a whole host of heroes here that I will show off here pretty soon. But I do want to start having the ability, at least, to play 40k, and rather than building an entire new army, I really like the idea of just taking my demons, and if I want to in the future, like leaving room to be able to what am I trying to say, leaving room to expand it even further if I wanted to do that with, like, I don't know, Death Guard, I think is what they're called, the mortal version, like the 40k Rotbringers. I think they're the Death Guard. Someone correct me if I'm wrong. Let's see. But yeah, so I like them. I like them both. I will, you are correct that for the most part, it's definitely the mortal stuff that appeals to me. You are correct. I'm just gonna go ahead and glue. Ah, no. Hey, hey, apocalyptic moth. Perfect. So this is going to be his base, where I'm going to basically turn this into like a nasty Nurgle slush. Basically do the swamp green effects with Nurgle's rot, so it looks like he's coming aboard or onto the dock. So it's going to have the same wooden base towards the front that all my other Nurgle stuff has. And then in the back, this whole thing is going to be a nasty slime pit. So I'm very excited about that. Alright, so the only thing I have left to build. So you're building Nurgle trees. Yeah, I got 2 of them. They're all done. Feculent Gnarl Moss. A lot of this is courtesy of Tom from Warhammer Weekly. He was clearing out some Nurgle stuff, and I was in the market. See you later, Hugh. So yeah, let's see. So I think I only have the flight stands for 2 sets of them at the moment. Let's see. I don't know. These are all jumbled up. So 34, 34. I think that seems right. Okay. So there are 3 sets here, and I got to figure out how they divvy up. Okay. Okay, so those... $50. Okay, so that should be 1 set of 3. Those are identical, 83. And these are identical, which means these ones are not. That's weird. Okay, 1 sec here. So do you have a 1? I know this is probably the most interesting thing you guys have ever seen on YouTube, but I apologize nonetheless. Aha, that's the problem. Okay, that should go there. This should go here. Boom. Okay, there we go. I've got to drop off and head to work. Have a great stream. Thank you, friend. I'm probably going to be on for the next, I don't know, half hour or so whenever I feel like I don't want to build anymore. It is really what it comes down to. Alright, let's take a look at these guys. So let's see. For these dudes, the first step I have here is to put them on the flight stand. But that's... So I have the clear ones. Let's see. Looks like we got some optional parts here. So let's get our... We're going to follow the instructions like good boys. Get it all built. Have to go. Thanks for the stream. Oh, dude, my friend, you are so welcome. I am just chilling. That was the whole point. It's why I didn't make a big deal of announcing it like that. I was like, you know what? Just kind of feel like hanging out. Hopefully some other people feel like hanging out too. Just finished my 2nd and 3rd Great Unclean one. Oh, man. Nick, have you run... How many Great Unclean ones do you... like... Actually, let me reword this. Why 3? Because I am thinking about Great Unclean Ones. Been on my mind, you know, as a Nurgle player, and as I'm getting more and more in demons. And I'm curious as to why. Because, like, I know there's that battalion, but I don't know how good it is. I've heard people talk about it a little bit, but... Spezia, just saying Happy Labor Day. Thank you so much, buddy. That's just so kind of you. Makes my heart happy every time people think it's worth a tip in the tip jar. Alright, so yeah, I'm kind of curious as to why you chose to go with those dudes. The Great and Clean ones. Also, these sprues are busy as all get out. They're just crammed stuff. Okay, we're going to go with the heads that aren't weird tube-shaped things. Actually, we'll grab this one just to break it up a smidge. Have you got the new camera yet? Yes. Yes, I have. You can go if you want to see it. I mean, it's set up right now, but I'm kind of working here, so it's kind of hard to switch over. But yeah, if you want to check it out, my Start Collecting corn box, it has some footage with me using the new camera. I love it. It's super fun. It makes everything look nice and clean and professional. How about that? Want full-time content and stream? Oh yeah, thank you so much. Oh man, make my heart happy. Yeah, so I actually took a couple days off work. My mom was supposed to come visit me. Oops, sorry. Mom was supposed to come visit me this week, but obviously with everything going on in the world, we made that plan out pretty far back, and so we had to cancel. So I had this week off, and rather than just keeping it off, or last week I should say, I had last week off, I just took 2 days off and had myself like an uber long weekend, thanks to Labor Day. And so got to do a bit of a dry run for how I kind of want my life to be when I'm doing content stuff full time. And absolutely loved it. Absolutely loved it. I got all my videos done for the week way in advance. I was able to do some house projects. I mean, honestly, sitting here building models is part of a house project where it's like I just needed to trim down my collection a little bit. So, yeah, and by trim it down, I just mean get rid of the sprues. Actually build the stuff and paint it so I can see kind of where I stand in terms of my collection, which is always good. Get some perspective, I think. And, yeah. And I was just sitting here, I was like, I could just flick the camera on and start hanging out with people. Let's see. Thrice Full Battalion is why I run 3. Interesting. I just love the look of it. I have Plague Bearers out front, big blob of Great Unclean Ones, 3 Plague Claw catapults behind them. Interesting. Very interesting. Spezia. On a side note, y'all, the National Spoken Word Awards, think Grammys, but poetry and spoken word. I won my 8th award in 5 years. Whoa! Congratulations! Holy smokes, that's cool. Y'all, that's incredible. We got the poet in the house, and I love it. That's so awesome. I love that the more I've gotten into this hobby, I've met more and more people who really don't fit the mold of what I first thought wargamers were like. Because, I mean, my first group that I was a part of, it was a War Machine and Hordes group in Iowa, and they were great guys. But it's just interesting that entire group that I was a part of, I feel like a lot of them were very similar in their temperament and, like, I don't know, kind of game bros to a small extent. And out here it has not been that way at all. And I want to say that it's a very small subset of people that I met from a very specific game in Iowa, so I'm not making an indictment on the Midwest. But, I mean, just much more cool people that are into stuff like poetry and painting, and I mean like art painting, not necessarily models all the time. It's just been really cool. Oop, definitely lost a head. There we go. There we go. Man down, man recovered. Mm-hmm. Give me a second here. I think I'm missing something. Here we go. Yeah, 6 and 7. And Do you continue the Infinity lore videos? I will eventually. Yes, not at the moment. It just, honestly, it got to be a lot to just cover all these different source books and that kind of stuff. And so I kind of just needed to step back from the, I'm going to call it ancillary, because I mean, it is, it's not what the channel was started with. It started with Age of Sigmar, and that's still my passion. But it's kind of needed to take a little step back just to kind of give myself a break. But to answer your question, am I going to continue with them? Yes, absolutely. In the future, I will. I plan to do that once I get settled in the new place and get a new rhythm down. I'll start reintroducing new stuff, because I definitely want to cover that. I still love Wild West Exodus as a setting. I think it's really cool and original. Yeah, no, I think there's a lot of cool things out there that I want to cover. And then then I get sent like smaller games that seem interesting, but we'll just have to see what the local scene is. Like, if there's people playing a game near where I'm moving to, like, I will absolutely just play that. Why not? If there's a Malifaux group, I'll hop into Malifaux. Why not? So, yes, to answer your question. Gotta head out. See you, Nick. Have a good day. Can't wait for my Fire Slayer Chosen Axes to arrive. Nice. Those are some fantastic models, by the way. Like, Chosen Axes just look so mean, and it's like in a good way. Like, they just look very imposing, because a lot of the Fire Slayer models, it's naked guy holding weapon walking towards you is kind of the overall sculpt for a lot of them. But there's just something with the Chosen Axes where they're just like, we're here to get Urgold and chew bubblegum. And we're all out of bubblegum. Oh, fat fingers not helping with the building of the models. There we go. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Really curious to read N4 lore. Do you think Malifaux would be right up your alley? Yeah, honestly, like, I love... I don't even know much about the story, but the aesthetic has me, where it's just... I just love that creepy, almost Cthulhu-esque existential horror look that they have going on with their art. It's like, I'm in. Whatever it is, I'm in. Okay, so I got 3 of the long nose heads, 3 of the shorter heads. And those are going to be the heads for the 6 that I'm building today. Okay. We got a few options here. Excuse me, and hiccup. Okay. Donald Collar. Do you end up falling off the Necromunda train? I'm currently diving headlong in, building... Oh, no, not at all. In fact... the Necromunda video game dropped today or tomorrow, I think. And I was going to be playing with that. No, I'm super up for Necromunda. On either next week or the week after, I'm going to be playing a 3-player game with some friends. No, I love it still. Promise. I do want to get back to covering it, but that's again one of those kind of side things that I need to put off just for a little bit until I can get kind of settled into a better rhythm. Because I mean, so to put the channel in perspective, in case any of y'all are curious, it is a good day if I write 1 to 2 things of show notes for an episode. So that way on the weekends I have all my, my scripts and stuff ready. So I just sit down and I crank it out. And I like that. That's kind of the rhythm I've gotten into. During the week I compile scripts, and then I sit down on like Saturday or Sunday and I just crank them out, turn them into videos, and boom. And kind of what this whole week was intended to be was like a dry run to see like, okay, but what does that look like when all I have is time, And it turns out I did 2 weeks worth of stuff this last weekend, and it's been awesome. So I'm not going to promise double the content all the time, always, forever and ever, but that is a very distinct possibility. Very real, very doable, very plausible. And so getting back into those other side games where they don't burn me out, in a way that doesn't burn me out, I should clarify, is something I am very excited to do. Today, downloading it right now. I know, I just pulled up Steam and it says it's available to download, but I'm going to wait until I'm not live streaming to do, because I don't know if it'll affect the internet connection, that kind of stuff. So, yeah, I'm very excited. Necromunda is a fantastic game. It's so much fun. And what I would say is, the thing that I love about Necromunda is like the crunchiness of the rules, which is not usually my thing, if I'm honest. Usually that actually turns me away from a game, but I just flippin' love what the rules allow you to do in terms of like articulating different effects, like being on fire and going crazy and all this kinds of stuff. I just like it. Let's see. Don't forget to glue the stingers and tentacles before you glue the bodies together. I'm looking at this and they don't have... On these ones, it's just a little plug that pops right in. I built this kit a long time ago. It doesn't seem terribly difficult. Anyway, we'll start here and see how far we can get. This is the thing that is the most tedious build to me. Apocalyptic Moth, can you consider getting the Sons of Behemoth? Can I consider getting them as far as, like, playing them? Because I'm going to get the Battle Tome to do lore for. But do you mean, like, in terms of building and painting an army? I probably will not. I don't know. I don't know. We'll see when the book drops. If it's one of those things where it's a book that's primarily focused on, you know, making Gargans more fun across other factions, like battalions that are meant to be taken by different Grand Alliances and stuff like that, maybe if there's a cool Chaos Gargan I can throw into my stuff. But honestly, I mean, in terms of like... in the market of big fat models that just don't want to die, I've already kind of got the market with Nurgle, so it's like I don't really know what it would add for me. Maybe I'll get a big guy, paint him, and then just raffle him off or something. I don't know, we could do that kind of stuff. One of the things I do plan on doing quite a bit is having like a model of the week or month or whatever, and I'll just paint something for an army I don't own, and then we'll just do a little raffle for it. It's a fun way to engage with folks and get some stuff out there that people are excited about. Question. Hey Doug, I know you've been a touch hesitant on Underworlds, but the Nurgle Warband is legitimately top tier. Would you consider them? And if not, it's $30 unique sculpts. Oh, Spezia, man. You weren't here in the beginning. I got them right there, buddy. Just built them today, and they are top-notch sculpts. I mentioned earlier that this guy who's leaning forward with the double axes is my favorite Blight King model they've made. So I don't know. I kept the cards that came with them just in case one day I ever decide to, but I don't have any distinct plans to play the game. Honestly, like, I just started, was it 2 nights ago? I tried Warhammer Underworlds, the online version, like the video game variant. And I gotta say, I really did enjoy it. List building is still hard for me. And I will probably lean very heavily into that game once the worm spats show up. Like, if I can find some part of it that I enjoy, and there's a local group that's actually playing it nearby, I'll figure it out. You know, I can learn that stuff. I can at least walk in and be like, hey, how you doing? I'm Doug Griggs. Want to be a part of internet history? Build me a card deck for this flippin' game because I hate doing that. And let me play it. Give me something I can do. Yeah, so that's what I would probably end up doing. I just assembled drones a couple days ago. Love those huge flies. Honestly, I hate building these things. This is like one now I'm like, who do I know that I could pay to build models for me? Mainly they're just a lot of parts. And I'm very impatient. Especially coming off of great kits like the Feculent Gnarlmaw or the Wormspat where it's just like snapped together. I'm like, oh man, everything else seems so hard. Seems like work. No, yeah, definitely. I wanted Wormspat stuff for a while, but it's just one of those things like, because I'm not playing Underworlds, I never like wanted to like go online and buy them. Like I never had that motivation, but because they were there in the store when I was picking up some other stuff, I was like, yeah, let's do it. There are some cool models. Put the stinger in. I mean, I can, but it just locks right in. I don't have to like do it beforehand. Just sits there. It's all good. It's a plug and play stinger, my friend. Let's see, just a good rule of thumb. Build the deck around the inspiration condition, then pick objectives that line up with that. See, no one's ever said that to me, but that makes absolute sense. Well, all the times I was talking about getting into the game or whatever like that, or noted that I've had struggles, like, that is the most practical advice that I've been given. So here's the problem I had before with these guys, okay? This is my flight base. And it goes like that far into him. Is that right? That can't be right. He should be flying higher than that. Right? Someone correct me. There's someone here. Peter seems to have a firm understanding of building these guys. Am I crazy? Are they really that low to the ground? Like just an army of lowriders? I guess that might not be the tallest of the stands, but... No way. That guy's even shorter. It's that low. Dang. That is nuts. I thought for sure that was wrong. Also, they are on 60 millimeters now. Yeah, I know they're on 60 mils, but like, so here's their berry size. Here's a 60 mil, and I'm holding them up. And it's like, it matches the top side, just not the actual like outside rim. And you know, honestly, for as much as I don't want to do my custom bases and drill into it, I'm fine with this. So I'm content with that, but that is good to know that they sit so low. So I will kind of pull all the head and stingers and stuff inward a little bit more. Okay, cool. I received mine with 60 mil, just as the Pusco Blight Lords. Yep, yeah, I believe they're on the same size, and that makes sense. Same monster they're all riding. I have 3 with each base. It bothers me. Yep. So, I mean, as far as to Spezia was talking earlier about these guys, I I really love her sculpt. In fact, I kind of want them to get rid of the current Rotbringer sorcerer and just use her. I feel like, boom, here she is. She has an entourage. Deal with it. Let's see. Oh, that would explain why it wasn't gluing down. I put the arm in the wrong socket. Let's see. Okay, sorry, one second, buddy. Let me find your question here. Jumped off the chat earlier. Two things. One, would you be up for critiquing a short story I made? And two, how do you feel about Inquisition 28 or AOS 28, the gritty, bleak side of the Mortal Realms? Okay, so to answer your questions, number one, I have always hesitated to review people's short stories, and I do for a few reasons. One, I am hardly literate, like just barely enough. I read a lot of books, but I don't have an eye for literature in terms of like, if I read a book I don't like, I struggle to articulate why. In terms of like critiquing, like meaningful critiques to literature, I don't. That is just not a strong point that I have, and so I'm always hesitant because, when people put hard work into something, and they're excited to share it with somebody, especially possibly someone they view as an authority. I know I have folks in other hobbies that I feel the same way about. It means a lot to people, and I don't want to accidentally say something that I don't understand what I'm saying and it offends them. So there's that aspect. But then also, a big one for me is just, I have gotten people who sent me stuff before, and they're like, so what do you think? Could this be in the Mortal Realms? And it's like, I mean, the only response I will ever give is, wow, that's really cool, because I'm not going to stifle your creativity. You know what I mean? Like, they went through all the trouble of blowing up the old world to let us do whatever the heck we want, and I lean into that pretty hard. I'm like a big advocate for making whatever story you want, even if it's not something that would ever show up in Black Library. Do not care. Like, you do you. So I tend not to. And that's just what it is. Sorry. I tend not to. As far as your second question, though, of the Inquisition 28 stuff, I don't know much about like the organization of all that in terms of like, the origins of it and what kind of qualifies. But I will say, if you guys have not seen the AOS 28, I think it's a Facebook group, it's incredible. Like, people do all kinds of super dark, gritty things. And it's an all around really cool thing. I really do love it. I love when stuff gets really dark. Like, for example, I think Gloomspite Gitz and Maggotkin of Nurgle are two armies where it's like, if this was real, it would be terrifying. And I feel like some of the AOS 28 guys really understood that, and they take those designs like to the max and make stuff look really gross and really creepy. And I'm here for it. Simply put. There you go. Spezia is willing. There you go. And it's not that I'm not willing, and that's kind of the thing I had when I did the lore contest. I was so worried about is like, man, I don't want people to think that like I'm some authority in literature, right? Like I'm comfortable with being like, oh, Doug's the guy you go to talk about lore in terms of like background information and coming up with cool ideas. But when it comes to like, I'm going to go to Doug for critique on my thing. It's like, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. Ugh. This is the worst part. Now, once this dries, you couldn't cut this thing with a lightsaber. But until it dries, it's falling everywhere. So, yeah. Probably will post on Reddit. That's awesome. That's awesome. And you know, I'm so glad you have, like, that you feel comfortable enough with, like, you know, your writing and that kind of stuff to be able to share it. Like, that's so stinking cool. Because honestly, like, I also get asked questions about starting YouTube and will I review channels and that kind of stuff. And the truth is just honestly starting something and then sharing it. Those are the hardest parts. This is still not dry yet. Never mind. You know, those are the hardest parts, is doing the thing and then having the, not even the confidence, because you can put something out there and know it's not the best it can be. But yeah. Blight's Creed, can I hit you with a random lore question? Go for it. Fire when ready. Let's see if I know this. If it's an old world lore thing, I'm not going to help you. I'm probably just going to stare into the void. Let's see. Okay, we're done with the Slimix things. Live streaming, okay. And Doug, how big is your army right now? Probably sitting around the 3,000 point-ish area, I would say. In terms of like what's fully done and painted, probably around 3,000. I could probably say that confidently. As far as stuff I have left to paint, it's 2 units of Blight Kings, a couple of heroes, and everything you see here, plus 2 more units of Plague Drones. There's a lot to go. Yeah. The nice thing is, though, is that all my demon stuff paints up really quickly because I went with a very, very simple scheme, which I am grateful for. Blight's Creek, I saw your question came in. Give me 1 second here. I'm just going to hold this in place and I will read it. So, let's see. What do the people of Order believe about Cain? Do they think he's dead? Is he considered alive? Do they think he's part of the Pantheon or just not care? You know, I thought that myself, and I could not find one reference to somebody outside the Daughters having an opinion of Cain specifically. You know, they, in terms of, like, they have opinions of the Daughters of Cain, and they have opinions on how they worship Cain. You know, through like slaughter on the battlefield and all the, you know, all the wartime forever stuff. But I can't think of a single time where an opinion was expressed about him from somebody on the outside. And I don't really have much to say on that because of that. One thing I can probably say is that they're not super interested. Once they see the Daughters of Cain and how they quote-unquote worship, I'm pretty sure they're like, oh, that's so good to know about your deity. I'm going to walk the other way. I'm hoping, though, that when this new Marathi book comes out, like, there's going to be at least some section of it where it's like, you know, before things get wild, we maybe get some insight into how people feel about the Daughters of Cain and who they worship and all that kind of stuff. So, like I said, like, I don't have a whole lot right now to report, but I am thinking that book might answer that question. And that would be really cool. Good evening. Please excuse my super noob question. Oh, no, buddy. I do this all for new folks. You're good. I just got my first models yesterday. After going through hours of your content, oh, thank you so much. I chose the Start Collecting Maggotkin of Nurgle army. Should I build 2 Puscoil Blight Lords or 1 Lord of Affliction and 1 Puscoil Blight Lord? I had 3 other friends buy Start Collecting boxes, and I will be just doing a small 500-point games. Honestly, what I would suggest to you, Matt, first of all, welcome aboard. I would probably suggest going with the unit of 2. The reason I say that is because the Lord of Blights, the hero version, he's really cool. I use him every single game. But he only really shines once you get a couple units of the Blight Lords. Like, if they're an aesthetic that you like, they're very easy to lean into. Like, half my army is Puscoil Blight Lords. But he doesn't really come into play until there's a couple of them on the table that he can kind of synergize with. And so I would probably steer you towards making it a unit of 2, because that way there are at least a couple of them. They're fighty. They're fantastic for absorbing damage. And honestly, they don't need a lot of support until you get into the bigger numbers and you're trying to throw around a whole bunch of hits. I am tired of holding this guy's wings up. Might do one of those numbers. This is taking forever to hold these guys' wings up, and I'm just done. Emotionally. I'm going to find someone to build these for me. Hey, if you live in the greater Seattle area, want a couple bucks? Boom, sold. Anyway. Yeah. So that's what I got for you. Probably my suggestion for sure, especially if you're going to do smaller games, because with your buddies, simply because like at that point you have units that can stay around and do stuff. Yeah, so that'd be my suggestion to you. Blitzkrieg. Oh wait, Peter. Oh wow, it was my first army when I started Blight War to get some demons for 40k. Only had 750 points until a month back. Then I bought 1 of each of the Start Collecting. Oh yeah, that's awesome. Let's see. That's totally fair, Doug. Couldn't find any info about it either, which is why I asked. Yeah, I mean, there's a bunch of those little kind of like ancillary questions in the lore that they don't quite address in battle tomes. And it's strange. You know, well, it's not strange. It makes perfect sense. I always tell people to think of your army's battle tome as propaganda, right? That like, it's only going to tell you how awesome your army is and that kind of stuff. And so the Daughters of Cain one really focuses on them being awesome, you know, and it doesn't, who cares about what everybody else thinks? Like, it talks about some little minor insights when they go into a city, but for the most part, like, none of those books really care about anybody else's worldview except for when they're killing them. So, you know, it is what it is. Let's see. Haven't played 40k since, but I dived into AOS. Have every Death Army, Ogres and Stormcast Eternal. Wow. The only Death Army that really interests me is Flesh Eater Courts. And even then, I don't know. It's just one of those things that I've just never wanted to pull the trigger on. I've had many opportunities. I know Jack has offered me more than once the Flesh Eater Courts that he has, and it just, I don't know. It was never felt like the right time to jump into something. And now that I have these guys, honestly, I've wanted to paint nothing else besides Nurgle stuff for quite a while. So yeah. Let's see. I've completely finished my Melusai during this stream. Thanks so much for the motivation. Oh, that's awesome. I plan on doing a whole bunch more. So yeah, absolutely. You're all set. What do you think of the sly mention of Chaos Elves in the recent Warhammer community post? Well, I mean, I thought about that. That's a great point, Will. And someone actually sent me an email about it. And I don't know if it was meant to be like, hey, there are Chaos Elves, or if they're referencing the fact that we already have Chaos Elves. We have them in Warcry. So that's an interesting thing. There are elven models that are slaves to darkness in Warcry. So, again, I don't know what they're referencing, but if they're talking about an entire faction of Chaos Elves, I'd be so into it. That would be really cool. Let's see. Matt, I'm super glad we were able to help. Yeah, in terms of starting from that box, I would say play around with the units you get, and then the best advice I can give for anybody starting any army is just play around with some stuff and then choose a direction. So, if you like the Blight Kings, the guys on foot, you already have a fantastic hero in the Lord of Blights. I would say either buy another Star Collecting box or just buy some Blight Kings. You know, as you can over time. Don't overwhelm yourself. Don't rush to 2,000 points or anything crazy. Just build them as you can and then lean that way. The cool thing about Blight Kings, if that's the unit you like, is once you accrue 3 units of them, there's 2 battalions you can take. And the only difference is the hero. So this is a Lord of Blights. If you put him in charge of that battalion, it's the Blight Cyst, which is fantastic. If you put the Lord of Plagues in the charge of it, you'll see in your battle tome it's the same units. Then it becomes a Plague Cyst, you know, and that's really cool. For me, in the way that I play, and I'm just going to explain this because you said you were new, is half my army. Anytime I start list building, it's a Lord of Afflictions and the Affliction Cyst, which is the battalion where it's him and 3 units of Pasquale Blightlords. And so I have a unit of 2, a unit of 2, and a unit of 4. And with that, I get very, very reliable turn 1 charges, and I just throw all that beef up in my opponent's face. And then the rest of the game is me running my Blight Kings, just boys on foot, onto objectives, and I'm posing a challenge to my opponent to say, can you handle, first of all the Pasquale Blightlords? They're not super killy, they're just fat and in the way, you know, which sums up my high school years perfectly. And you know what? I'm doing all right, and so do they. So that's all they do, is they just pin down your opponent aggressively. And the thing is can they chew through the Pasquale Blightlords fast enough to then run to the objectives and then also peel away the Blight Kings? And then once they do that, there has to be enough time for them to catch up on victory points if you're playing a battle plan. And so most of the times that I have done well with my list, the answer is no. Most armies can't chew through beef that fast. There are some, of course, some armies where they could ram straight through the Blight Kings and that kind of stuff. But honestly, for the most part, not really. Especially because the Blight Lords, the dudes on flies, get a disgusting resilient save, that kind of stuff. So there's a lot going on with them. It's a very grindy attrition army. But the nice thing is, like, once you get to where you're going, which is usually objectives or, you know, places to control in the game, you just hang out. You just get to hang out and slice through people. And that's fun. Michael Hammond, no, that's good comedy. So yeah, anyway, that was a little bit of tangent. I know it probably wasn't asked for, but I wanted to throw that out there because you said you were new. And then that's how I play Nurgle. There's a myriad of different ways to do it because it's such a cool army. There's a lot of ways to run them. But that's how I do it, and I have a great time. Spetsy, a question. Thinking about kit bashing it, but before I do, what do you think the odds of getting a Lord Arcanum on Dracoth legit model? Ooh. Honestly, if I'm super honest, I don't think the odds are very good because it seems like the Games Workshop opinion of Stormcast releases is that it is a train that moves one way, forward. I can't think of any times when they went backwards and added, like, retroactively added a mount to something. I would probably suggest you just go ahead and kit bash it for sure. But yeah, I can't think of a single time where they've done that. I gotta think about that one for a hot sec. Let's see. Let me go ahead and turn my studio lights back on so I can show my face a little bit here. Honestly, I'm kind of done building those guys. They are not my favorite kits by a mile. Hey, yep. Hey, there we are. My lights are still warming up, so give me just a moment here, but let me pull up the chat again, and I'm just going to hang out for the next 5 or so minutes, not doing a whole lot of anything, and then I will hop off here. Let me pull up the chat in a place where I can see it from here. Might Makes Right Wargaming picked up Ossiarch Bone Reapers with the Feast of Bone box. I was pretty meh on them from the pictures until I built them, and now I love them. That's awesome. I was pretty meh on the aesthetic of them until I saw... What is the sub-faction that everyone complains about being too good? Where it's red. I don't know anything about the army or playing it. Like I said, I never played against it, but there was something about that red scheme that I was like, that looks fire. I like that. So I thought that was pretty cool. Let's see. I like Flesh Eater Courts, but they are the smallest death army. I'm excited about some of the rumor engine picks. Yeah, because am I crazy? Do we know that there's a Flesh Eater Court Underworld's warband, right? Someone correct me if I'm wrong. Petrifex Elite, thank you, Will. Yeah, it's the name of the Ossiarch Bone Reapers thing. Let's see. Can't the tree help with better charging? With Nurgle? Yeah, it definitely does. So basically how the synergies work for my thing is I use the Lord of Affliction's command ability, which if you have the Affliction Cyst, affects all the Pusco Blight Lords in a big range. It lets them basically move 16 inches. Move, not run or anything like that. So I usually do that and then run them towards a Nurgle tree, which then allows them to run and charge, and I slingshot them forward, and that's how I do the trick that I do. But yeah. Nurgle being able to go so many different ways was one of the reasons I chose them. Yeah, I'm super excited to explore all the possibilities. Yeah, the Skaven and Slaves to Darkness stuff gets nuts, for sure. David, question. I will be in Seattle soon. Can you recommend any game shops to visit? Absolutely. So if you're going to be in Seattle proper, like the actual downtown city area, I would recommend looking at a place called Card Kingdom, or it's sometimes called Mox Seattle. There's a company and they own a place called Mox Boarding House. And so it's not far from downtown. It's just north a little bit. One of the coolest gaming spaces ever. Just ever. And there's a very active community there. I'm not sure how much gaming is going on right now because of all that's going on. But Seattle, we're sitting pretty well in terms of unlocking. So that's what I would definitely suggest. Look up Mox Boarding House, Seattle. You'll be all set. There is an Underworld warband. Oh, I just had a light die on me. Okay, well, I guess it's time to head off for the night. I gotta recharge. I have these lights and they are battery powered, so it's rechargeable, like photography lights. But I gotta go hop off and power them back up. So anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and sign out with that now that we're in the creepy dungeon looking space. Thank you all so much for joining me. It's been a wonderful time just to hang out and get some hobby progress in. And I look forward to seeing you all very, very soon. I hope you enjoy the videos that are coming out this week. And I'll probably hop on some evening this week for a live stream and